What is going on, guys? I am OptimusPhillip, and San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now, which means we have been getting a lot of news for Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2, including the first full-length trailer, though it's still listed as a teaser for some reason. So, I'm just going to do a quick little reaction breakdown on it. I've watched it once before, but this is my first, deep dive into it, so you'll get to hear a lot of live, unscripted first thoughts, first impressions, and we'll just talk about it. So, let's just get right into it.
A great stirring is underway. War is inevitable.
Okay, so very, very typical, action movie, action show type stuff going on. I'm guessing this is the Titan army marching over this hill over here. It's hard to make out anyone that's going on. But, oh yeah, that does look like Luke in the front with his sword, backbiter. It's definitely a unique shape in this show. And still looks like a lot of human demigods. Might be some monsters in there. I can't tell. Everything is humanoid. But there are a lot of humanoid monsters in the lore. So, little hard to tell if they're actually giving us a big monster army or they're mixing it in with a lot of rogue demigods. And then, of course, we get some reaction shots of Percy and some reaction shots of Percy and Annabeth. This looks like they're on the boat, so probably this is from the Charybdis scene. Really hard to get any information off of that, so let's just go on.
War is inevitable.
Okay, this is really interesting. So, in the Entertainment Weekly article that was posted the other day, they did talk about giving Grover more to do on his quest and having this, Indiana Jones-style plot, and I do kind of like... That's an interesting idea on paper. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to fit in with, the overall plot, considering that Grover getting kidnapped by... Considering that Grover getting kidnapped by Polyphemus is the inciting incident for the story. So, maybe this is going to be flashbacks, maybe they're just going to be an extended prologue, I don't know. But it is kind of interesting, especially with this really creepy image, honestly, of a dead satyr skeleton holding the reed pipes. It's very interesting. I do definitely kind of get the Indiana Jones vibe that Rick mentioned. Hopefully this ends up being interesting. We'll see. Okay, so this is actually really interesting, because it looks like we actually have a shot of Luke poisoning or otherwise injuring the tree. Because, you saw, he was stabbed into the bark of the tree. I mean, this could just be a random tree, but I think this is supposed to be Thalia. And one thing I will definitely say is that Backbiter looks a little too uniform in color here, because it's all silver. That's the whole thing with it, is it's supposed to be double-edged, half steel, half bronze. Maybe, it's side-to-side different metals. It's kind of hard to tell from this shot. But, yeah, you can also kind of see something dripping out of the tree there. Maybe poison, so definitely not what I had in mind when I pictured Luke poisoning the tree, but I guess this does make for an interesting visual. Oh yeah, that is definitely the pine tree by the looks of it. I should have kept watching for 5 more seconds. It's what you do when you have one of these live reaction videos. Before we go ahead, what does this fit? I mean, I kind of like it, but it's not what I was imagining. Hang on, I'm actually gonna grab the book, see if I can... Okay, yeah, this is definitely a unique look for Luke, because in the book he was a lot more, business-oriented. This is definitely quite a departure from that. I kind of like it. I like how he's got the that weird pattern across it that you see all the time in Greek stuff. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's interesting, but it looks cool. That's what I'm gonna leave it at. Okay, and we're getting some shots of Clarice's crew on the CSS Birmingham, which you can see they're doing like, hang on. So yeah, you can see that they are pulling from all different points of history for Clarice's crew rather than just having it be dead Confederates. They did say in the Entertainment Weekly article that they would all still be losers of historical wars, so they're keeping that angle at least. I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully this is just an inconsequential change, but, you know, we'll see. Just something that I wanted to point out.
There are forces more powerful.
Okay, that's interesting. Like, that knife is bloody, which I'm not used to seeing in this show. Like, because as I recall, for season 1, there was, like, the one shot of Percy getting cut up during Capture the Flag, but aside from that, there was no blood or any, like, actual visual injuries. Hopefully this means we're gonna get a little bit less of the weird censorship and whatever that was going on in season 1. Like, less of the standards and practices, vetoes. Hopefully they're loosening up on that, which I think will be a good help. But, again, we'll see.
There are forces more powerful than the will of the gods, my son.
Okay, so yeah, so we got Poseidon giving a narration, which is interesting, considering that Poseidon does not appear at all in Sea of Monsters, not even in like a voice, as far as I recall. But I don't know if this narration is actually going to be in the show, but if it is, that's gonna be a bit of a change. I wonder how they're gonna integrate Poseidon into this. I do know from like the casting releases that they are bringing in like Athena, so some gods are appearing in the show that didn't appear in the book at this point, so we'll see. We'll see how they handle that. And this is, of course, the chariot track. We'll get a closer look at that bit. Okay, and we got Percy meeting Hermes. So you may recall we did see Hermes in Season 1. I'm going to talk about that in my Adaptation Sins video coming out in a couple of weeks. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, so Hermes is also showing up here, which was actually his first appearance in the book. So, and it's definitely kind of interesting, like, the way they're framing and lighting this shot, it almost makes it look like we're going to see a different side of Hermes now that Luke has gone full rogue. But yeah, that could be really interesting, seeing how sort of different Hermes' portrayal in the first season was, seeing how he changes after Luke's betrayal and maybe becoming more in line with what we see in the book. That might actually be interesting. I might actually be more okay with Hermes having appeared in Season 1 after that. Though, of course, that episode has other problems. Again, that's an episode to look forward to in my Sins videos. Okay, so we have this shot or set of shots here, which... hang on. You know, actually, now that I think about it, at first I was wondering if this was like a vision of Kronos, but actually, now that I think about it, given the given where, yeah, because like at first I thought this was Kronos standing under Thalia's tree from like a dream sequence or something, but now that I think about it, this looks like it might actually be Polyphemus on his island, because yeah, we see right there that is a shepherd's crook, and there. And you see it also does cut away right before the camera pans to where it would show his face. And what I will say is that this does still look very desolated, very plain, which feels a little odd. Polyphemus Island is supposed to be like, you know, this flourishing natural environment, like I said in my video on the movie, where that one, they made it look like this rundown amusement park instead of, you know, the lush, vegetative, you know, natural paradise type place that it was in the book. So, I don't know where this is timeline-wise, if this is before, during, or after, while he has the fleece. So, that might explain it. But I don't know, this feels a little weird. Hopefully the full show will clarify this. And yeah, we also got this shot here of Percy. If you look at the other promotional footage that was released earlier or was leaked on TikTok, this is from Percy fighting Clarice, and you can see a Viking there in the background. So they really are pulling from all different times and places for this crew. Again, gonna be really interesting to see how that works out.
Brace yourself, Perseus.
Okay, and we're getting more of Kronos with the lantern in visions, and is this still the beach house, or is this, like... Actually, I think this might actually be the big house, which... Okay, so we're getting more of these sequences. I mean, they're not necessarily bad. They're definitely not like how Kronos streams happen in the books, so... Maybe we're just going to see more of that and not any of the really creative stuff the book showed, which I think is a little sad. That was one of the minor disappointments I had with Season 1. But, you know, again, there's a lot we'll see about. I guess this kind of is a teaser because it's not really telling us a whole lot about what's going on. It's just showing us stuff and leaving us to fill in the blanks later.
Look, Peter. We all know that last year you did something cool. But honestly, I don't...
Okay, and we can see here, this is apparently Tantalus, and we saw him, some promotional stills of him, like, on social posts. It's an interesting look. He definitely does look a little out of place, which I think is the idea. So... that might be fun. I've yet to, like, actually see him acting. Hopefully he plays it really funny. Because, like, as I recall, this guy is, like, a comedian. And there's going to be a lot of comedic material for him to work with when, like, the food curse. So, hopefully that's fun. But for now, all we have is this look, which... it feels a little edgelord, which I guess kind of suits Tantalus, but at the same time is a little on the nose. Whatever, we'll see.
Look, Peter. We all know that last year you did something cool. But honestly, I don't even remember what it was.
Okay, that is kind of funny coming from Mr. D. Funny line. Does kind of reflect the whole vibe from the book, which was, yeah, that Percy had his one big quest and everyone was happy for that. And now everyone kind of just wants Clarice to have her turn. So, they're keeping that idea. I like that. Actually, come on. I just noticed, so... Percy has a bead on his necklace for... Yeah, because, like, he's gone through his first year, but I don't see anything painted on it. It just looks black. So, hopefully there's, like, a lightning bolt on there that's just, like, rolled away or something, and maybe... I don't know if we'll ever get a closer look at it, or if they really did just put a bead there. I'll be honest, if it is unpainted and just a black bead, that's kind of lazy. Like, even just a black bead, why not make it, you know... Why not make it, like, blue or something? Give it some interesting color to represent the quest. I'm very nitpicky, even by my standards, I know, so let's just go ahead. We got a couple shots on the lifeboat, which, yeah, that is definitely a track with the book. They do spend, you know, more than one sequence is spent on a lifeboat. First, getting off the Andromeda, and then after the Birmingham blows up, spoiler alert, this is an adaptation of an old book. I'm guessing this is an Andromeda lifeboat, considering that the CSS Birmingham, I believe that one was more of a life raft, which does track with it being an older boat. This looks very modern lifeboat style, so yeah, probably the Andromeda. And the music choice, that definitely does get me. It's Come Sail Away, which, fun fact, was also sampled in the Lightning Thief musical, which still think is the best adaptation of Lightning Thief to date. I really want to make a video on that someday, if I can make it work. But, so, clever song choice. Definitely kind of parallels what they did with Riptide last season. And unlike Riptide, this doesn't, like, directly reference anything from the book that I'll notice they leave out. So, that's nice. It's just a fun little song for the trailer. Okay, so, who are these people with Grover in this shot? That's what I'm wondering. Like, are these other satyrs that he rescued from Polyphemus? Or, I don't know. This is kind of an interesting thing. it feels like they're really adding a lot for Grover in this, which, I mean, on the one hand, I'm glad about considering that he did kind of get shafted last season, but at the same time, they're really adding a lot, which, again, was one of my big problems, was they were adding so much and not giving a lot of time to what was actually in the books and what people were actually looking forward to seeing. So, hopefully they don't go too overboard with this, or do it well enough to make it work, but, again, a lot of new stuff for Grover. And, again, assuming this is another shot from that same sequence and not cut out of context, I'm really curious what this is. Like, this does not look like any monster that is described in the book, unless this is one of, like, the weird background cameo monsters that Percy mentioned seeing once or twice in passing. But, yeah, of all the monsters that they encounter in the book, I don't know of any tentacled monsters. I'm definitely curious. Again, they're adding a lot of stuff for Grover to do. So, maybe they're like, Grover is on Polyphemus' island. Okay, so kind of speculating now. But, like, Grover goes to Polyphemus' island, finds a bunch of satyrs still kept prisoner. They try to leave, but their path away, the boat that Grover was taking gets destroyed by this monster, and that's how they get stranded there and how Polyphemus captures them. Which, okay, interesting idea. How is he gonna get the dress? Because they do make a big point about the dress in the Entertainment Weekly thing, and the dress is kind of a big deal in the book. So, hopefully it all fits together. But knowing this show, I don't have the highest hopes, but, we'll see. Hopefully they put it together. I don't know.
We're headed into the Sea of Monsters.
Okay, yeah, that was, definitely not a lot to say about there. There's probably the Birmingham going through Charybdis, or some other big storm. Probably Charybdis, considering that's, like, pretty much right where they go after getting on the Birmingham.
Sea of Monsters.
Okay, yeah, and, more shots of this fight with Clarice, which was not in the book. Clarice, they argue a lot, but they never outright fight, which, again, so much added stuff. I don't know how to feel about the idea of them doing that, because, again, this added stuff, I think, took away from the first season. And, you'll notice that Clarice she has a new outfit, but it's still not the trademark camo jacket. It's like a leather jacket. So, again, I really have to wonder what the costuming department is up to here. But,
You sure you're okay?
yep, and more of the Birmingham crew. Nothing much to say there.
Sure you're okay to do this?
Yeah. And yeah, more of Grover in the woods, playing on those reed pipes. Thank you! That was one thing that was actually kind of missing from this first season, was Grover having the reed pipes. Though, come to think of it, I admittedly don't comment on it much in the Sins videos, so yeah, that's probably a fail on my end, but yeah, we're seeing Grover with the reed pipes. Big improvement, I'll give it that. Okay, and yeah, better look at Luke and his army, which, again, as far as the eye can see in this shot, it's more human demigods. Hopefully there's, like, a ton of monsters, but maybe not. I don't know, knowing the budget. They probably couldn't make a lot of monsters. Maybe they do have to just use a lot of demigods, which is a little disappointing, because that was, like, one of the big draws of, like, the Titan army, the Princess Andromeda, was just how many monsters there were on that boat. Do we get a better look at Backbiter here? Because you may recall from Season 1, the only time it's ever seen is at night, so you can't see it very clearly in like, color or whatever. Okay, so in this shot, it does look a little duller, and this is the other side from what we saw earlier, so, yeah, maybe it is like a double layer type thing, where, like, one plane of the blade is steel, the other is bronze. It's hard to say, especially considering, like, the way the blade catches light. It does make it a little hard to tell what the color breakdown is. And Luke and Percy... Oh! That is the Golden Fleece right there. That's a bit of a surprise. So yeah, Luke and Percy fighting on the Andromeda over the Golden Fleece. Which, I was about to say it's book accurate, considering that's like the first time they do actually come to blows. But then it occurred to me, no, at this point, Percy had already given the Golden Fleece to Clarice to bring back to camp. So, they never fight over the Golden Fleece itself. Okay, what are they doing here? That's my big thing. Because we know from Season 1, they aren't above changing, like, the full endgame plot. So, maybe they aren't going to send the Fleece back on a plane with Clarice. And instead, they're actually going to have a fight over it on the boat. Which, big change. Hopefully it pays off, but, or it could end up being missing the deadline again. Which, hopefully they've learned from. Hopefully, but could very well be that they stand by that and they're going to do something equally stupid. So many shots. Okay, yeah, so we got them fighting on the chariot. This is nothing new. I will say, I am kind of noticing some weird thing where it almost looks like, that other chariot has a trident on it for some reason, even though I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Ares. And, again, I have to wonder, why isn't it red? I admit, I don't remember what color the chariot was in the book, but the Ares cabin had a very clear red aesthetic. This looks very gray, and it looks like Percy is sparring with someone. Might be Clarice. Probably is, considering that she was in the chariot race in the book, and, she's a major character here. But yeah, just a short clip of the chariot race. We've seen this before. Nothing really new to comment on. Okay, yeah, and Percy running through, I'm guessing that's like what it's called, the bilges or whatever of the Princess Andromeda. Again, with the Golden Fleece. So is there like going to be like this big chase sequence through the boat with Percy having the Golden Fleece? That's definitely going to shake things up from the book. Hopefully in a good way, but knowing the show, probably not. And is this supposed to be the Oracle? Yeah, I think that's actually the Oracle now that I think about it. And, okay. This is interesting. I don't know who this is. I don't recognize this person from Season 1, nor does she ring any bells for any characters that should be at this point in the books. So I'm guessing this is that original Allison character that was widely rumored and eventually confirmed by cast listings. I'll confess, I don't really keep up with casting because I don't know actors these days. But yeah, I'm guessing that this is Allison. I'm curious to see what they do with her. You kind of know how I feel at this point about them adding stuff and changing stuff from the book. So hopefully this pans out, but again, not holding my breath. And, yeah, that's Luke. Okay, so, looks like Luke's attack gets blocked by a trident. So yeah, I guess Poseidon is showing up in this season, which, okay, sure, I guess it makes sense. You have a season set in the Sea of Monsters. Having the God of the Sea shows up does make sense. But again, it's kind of weird. Again, adding stuff that wasn't in the book. Hopefully they do something cool with this. We'll see.
Let's go do the impossible.
So yeah, so we have this moment. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. It looks like they're... Okay, so this actually, now that I think about it, it looks like they're in the Queen Anne's Revenge, because, that's like the only wooden boat they ever get on in the book, because, the Andromeda is a modern cruise ship, and the Birmingham is a Confederate warship, so it was made of metal. But yeah, this is a wooden ship by the looks of it, so yeah, I'm guessing this is them on the Queen Anne's Revenge, gearing up to face the sirens. They do mention in the Entertainment Weekly article that they made a big change to this sequence. Again, changing the books. I don't know if they really should be doing that for something like this. Hopefully they do something interesting with this. They make it sound interesting, but at the same time, they kind of make it sound just like doing the book again, but it's like they talk about having Percy and Annabeth, instead of just going straight from the sirens to Polyphemus, they talk about them having like an honest conversation about their relationship. But in the book, they already did have an honest conversation between those moments where they were actually talking about, you know, Annabeth's fatal flaw, which was actually kind of relevant there because the sirens brought that into the forefront. So maybe they're changing like what they see in the siren vision. Because if you recall from like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to bring up the leak clips here. People don't need those spoilers right now. But yeah, they are seeming to put a bigger emphasis on the Percy-Annabeth relationship, which I don't know if I'm a fan of. I feel like they go a little overboard. In fact, we're actually going to see evidence of this in a later clip from this trailer, so yeah, we'll talk about that more. And we have our release date. New season streaming on December 10th, so now I know when I need to get the binge compilation out for season 1. Anyway. Yeah, so good to finally have a release date. Less than 6 months before it comes out. Okay, and yeah, it does look like they're facing the Lystragonians at camp. You know, they're out there chucking the fireballs. So that's something that's probably going to really frustrate me, because in the book, they fight the Lystragonians at school, and then once they're all taken care of, they go to camp and fight the Colchis Bulls. In this, it looks like the Lystragonians are what they're fighting at camp, which makes me worry that they're going to cut out the Colchis Bulls completely, which I think is way too big a change from the book, even for this show's standards. Because, again, this is like a big budget show. They should be able to give us some, you know, some bulls. Okay, and we got our Tyson reveal. So, yeah, this was definitely going to be the big point of contention that people were worried about pretty much as soon as they cast Tyson. I will say, the CG doesn't look really all that bad technically. It looks high quality, well rendered. There is an uncanny valley effect, but I think that's kind of unavoidable when you got a Cyclops, like, on a realistic face. So yeah, might just need some getting used to. I think it looks about as good as I can expect. I know that sounds backhanded, but I genuinely mean it. It doesn't look that bad. Yeah, and it looks like this is how they discover Tyson as a Cyclops, instead of doing the whole, big, how did he do that? And then Annabeth's like, dude, look past the mist. There's mist on his face. He's a Cyclops. Looks like they're doing a reveal, like, in the heat of a moment, which I guess makes a lot more sense and does make for a better reveal for, like, a visual medium. So yeah, maybe a good change.
What? So this is your boyfriend, huh?
And a post. Freaking teaser trailers have post-credit scenes now. So yeah, we got them in the Grey Sisters cab.
I never said boyfriend. I never said boyfriend.
I believe you.
Yeah, so if you saw the leaked clips or my commentary on the leaked clips, yeah, that is one of the scenes I was talking about there. Hang on, let me actually bring them in so you have something to look at. So yeah, they're really leaning into the Percy and Annabeth shipping, which I don't know if I'm a fan of. I feel like the books handled it pretty well. It's like a relatively slow burn. I feel like the show is kind of jumping the gun on some things. Like, they do say in the article that they're trying to still do the slow burn, that they don't become romantically involved until later books. But I don't know, this feels a little overt. Hopefully they don't go too overboard, and this is just like a random haha gag. But yeah. And of course, we also do get our look at the Grey Sisters here. So, we do see that they do all look old, which, again, I'm happy for. I'm glad they aren't going the Maiden Mother Crone thing, because that's more of a Hecate thing, and even then, more of a neo-pagan thing, not a classical idea. But yeah, we have all of them. They look about what I would expect from the Grey Sisters. I mean, you know, aside from, like, the one with the full set of teeth, but that's something I can forgive, considering, they have to actually act. Having one tooth between all three of them would probably hamper their ability to, read their lines and, emote well. There's a lot going on acting-wise, so yeah, I can see why they would just forego the tooth idea. That's fine with me. So yeah, that's the whole teaser, my live, unfiltered thoughts and reactions. There are some things that I find interesting about this, some for good reasons, some for bad reasons. Hopefully they do pull it off and make something better than season 1, but I don't know, I'm more cautious than optimistic, I'll say that much. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and yeah, I'll see you next week when I get the next episode of Adaptation Sins up, and yeah, we'll see how this plays out.